In today's weapons video, we're going to talk about the tanto. The tanto, this is a wooden variation of it, is basically a dagger or a knife. Tanto jutsu is kind of one of my favorite things. I work with it a lot. I think it's a very important weapon to work with. It is one weapon that, as a tactical knife, is something that we can legally carry with us. So, as their full arsenal of ninjutsu weapons, we can't carry around swords and chains and throwing knives and shurikens and explosives and different halberd weapons, and we can't, set up traps and things like that that have spikes and explosives that, we can't carry all that stuff with us. It would make life a lot easier if people knew, hey, you mess with that guy, he's going to blow you up. They'd probably leave you alone. So today we have to be more invisible. But the tanto, the knife, is also something that we may see on the streets, and in many cases the knife can be a very deadly weapon because you may not even know you're cut severely until you feel the warmth of the blood. You may not even feel the penetration of the cut of the knife. You're just going to feel like something's wet, and then you're going to realize you're bleeding out, and then the clock is ticking for you to be able to stop that bleeding, as well as try to stop the guy who's still coming with the knife. So a knife can be just as deadly or worse as a gun, because a gun will go off, it'll attract attention, people hear the gun going off, and it may bring police or bring people to the area where if someone was to attack you with a knife, you may lay there on the floor bleeding to death and no one even know what happened. So it's something that I pay attention to. But I'm going to show you some drills, and we're going to work it off of the 7 cuts that are in the Q system. So with your tanto, you've got to make sure you have a good grip. One of the more common things that I see is a lot of people put their hand on top. And what that does is that creates a space right here for that knife to be taken out. What you want to be able to do is make sure this hand is down over top and you've got a pretty tight grip. Just like you would hold a sword is the same way you would hold a tanto. Think of the tanto as just a very, very short sword. You don't want to have a separate set of movements with the tanto that you can't use with a sword, or a separate set of movements with a sword that don't relate down to the tanto. Just think of the tanto as being a very small sword, the wakizashi and the shoto just being a little bit longer, the ninjato and the regular katana. But I want to be able to use all of these skills. So I don't want to learn something with a sword that I can't necessarily use with a knife. And I don't want to learn something with a knife that I necessarily can't use with a sword. So my grip is going to stay the same. My body dynamics are going to stay the same. That means I can use any weapon. Any weapon. It doesn't even have to be a knife. It can be a stick. It can be a pole. It can be a taser. It can be a kubaton. It can be just something I pick up off the ground. Anything, if I hold it with this grip, it now becomes a sword, or it now becomes a tanto. Now there's certain advantages of a knife having a razor edge that can actually cut, can stab. So I would use a knife differently than I would use a small pole. But today we're talking about the tanto. So everyone knows the 7 cuts. If you don't know the 7 cuts, I've got a couple videos on YouTube on that, but here's basically the 7 cuts. Etiquette with the tanto is basically holding it out to the side and bowing it. You can hold it here, you can bow. If it's in your belt, this is how normal people wear it. A ninja would put it inside. I don't want to let my opponent know that I actually have the knife. And if I'm attacked, I want to be able to move in a way where I can attack and I can actually draw the blade and be able to do it without him being able to see it. So if you're to carry a knife around, a lot of people think they're cool. Look, I have a knife. Think of it like, oh shit, I can see it. He has a knife. He has a gun. Let's conceal it. So we're going to carry our knife inside of our jacket, inside of our belt, and make sure you practice being able to draw it and being able to hide it for when you can cut with it. All right? So basically the 7 cuts are going to be here. Slight angle, 1. Across the body or neck, 2. Cutting down an angle, 3, 4, 5, 6, and step. Okay. On the skeet or the stab, If you're going to stab below the rib cage, the knife can be in this position here, vertical up and down. If you're going to stab higher, then the blade needs to turn flat, so it can go through the rib cage and penetrate deeper. Here I can get stuck in the bone. Turn the blade sideways, can now penetrate into the body. So if you see me sometimes with the knife flat, that's because I'm poking so low. If I turn my hand, that's because I'm trying to come in through the rib cage, puncture a lung, or come in and try to puncture a heart. So that's the difference, please. There's not a always on anything. It won't go in up here. I've got to turn it. Just also let you know, if I'm going to strike on the left side of the body, I'm going to turn the blade to the left so I can use it to come out of the rib cage easily. If I have the blade with the blade pointing here on the left side, the spine is here and I can't pull it that way. I can only go in and out with it. So if I come in on this position on the right side of the body, I'll turn it into the right side of the body so I can cut it out of the body if I need to be able to fight again. So just kind of a key point on that, right? This is what they call juntai, and this is what they call gyakute grip. Juntai, gyakute. And being able to practice with one hand, getting that to both grip positions is important, all right? And then you can practice the gyakute the same way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? So you can practice those cuts with the gyakute position as easy with the juntai position. And then again, once you've got those 7 cuts down, be able to do them in a circle. So don't do them straight line. My first cut is here. My second cut is here. My third cut is here. My fourth cut is over here. My fifth cut. My sixth cut. And my stab. So again, I'm unlocking the train from the rails and I'm putting big 4-wheel drive tires on it and I can go anywhere I need to go. So learn how to move with it. Practice the drill over and over to be able to cut a certain way. Then once you have it, learn to do those in different motions where you can free yourself and learn to fight people in a 360-degree manner, right? So again, do your 7 cuts, spread out, do them all over the places. If you want to practice with a real knife, you can get some tatami mats and put a whole bunch of targets out there. And then with form and skill, learn how to cut all of the different targets. And be precise with it. You can take a wooden one and go out into a deep forest, and as you run around, cut trees. And make sure you cut a different cut every tree. Run, move, cut, fight different trees close. Move through the trees, cut. And next thing you know, man, you're a mile into the woods and you've done 100 cuts. Put your knife away, get yourself back. It's a good little half-an-hour exercise with a little cardio. Also, don't forget your weights. Just with the weight in your hand. Being able to practice those cuts with the weight in your hand to be able to get the strength that you need to do it all, right? So that'll increase your speed. And if 5 pounds isn't big enough, go to whatever makes it heavy that you can still move it forward. But those are some exercises